Okay, this is the even more riveting pregame show because the first time I pressed record, apparently I pressed record and then I started looking through my phone. So I'll ignore that. All right, this is going to be hopefully a little bit more of a relaxed prep video for another book. I did one for the Marrow Thieves, which I fucking just almost lost my mind on. But I think I learned a couple of things from that bad experience, which is, okay, I'm not going to try the witty phrases, but I'm just going to run through the material I have and try and get like the little facts a little bit ingrained in my head. So yes, I am talking about the Hsptl Suite by John Por Porcello. That's one of the things I better go and look up after I finish this video so I get it right, is to say the goddamn name of the cartoonist whose book this is. His 2014 book. It's a non-fiction account of the author's health troubles from 1997 to 2014. He falls ill with extreme stomach pain, and he has grueling abdominal surgery, recovers briefly, and then goes through several years of illness, both physical illness and mental illness. That's with a lot of environmental, food intolerances, a lot obsessive compulsive tendencies, just having to lock the door, check the door, or in his artwork, like, oh, I have to get this thing perfect, or it's just not right, sort of that sort of stuff. Trying to kind of balance this out with both, traditional medicine, also a lot of kind of alternative medicines, various different things on that. He has rotating jobs, rotating relationships. His marriage ends in the midst of this. So yeah, there's all that. So yes, it's the Hsptl Suite by John Porcello. See, I'm gonna have to fucking look up his name. That's number one of things that you have to. I start recording and go, God damn it, I didn't check that yet. So getting his name right. 2014 book. It's a nonfiction account of his health troubles from 1997 to 2014 when this thing was published. That's when the last little entry in here is. Fell ill with extreme stomach pain, had abdominal surgery, ended up with several years of health troubles after that, both physical health troubles and mental health troubles. He had environmental intolerances, both to food and to smells and to sound. Oh, all the stuff of sound. He has ended up wearing earplugs. I should actually write that down as one of the little things I would add on here. Is I just talking about it. It's the stuff with it's food, smell, sound. Just kind of chemicals in the environment, stuff like that. And yeah, as I said, these obsessive compulsive tendencies, which are described as mild but seem pretty debilitating, of obsessively having to kind of check and recheck if he shuts things or turn things off. It comes up in his artwork of being obsessive about that, of these things have to be perfect, and obsessively copying it over and over again. That sort of stuff goes through he rotates through multiple jobs and relationships. There's moving from one place to another. That's just more the passage of time. That's more passage of time stuff. So yeah, that's the kind of the start of the stuff, and then we'll go into his style. His style is deceptively his style is very simple. It is strictly very kind of just very much line drawing, sort of the stuff I'm sure that people would look at and go, I could do that. That seems so easy. I could do that in my sleep. Which I think is extremely deceptive exactly how much he is able to get across with this sort of very kind of symbolic drawing, which actually goes a long way to getting you into the intimacy of that. Um, but it's one of those books where you get simple images, but you get simple images that I think are going to be engraved in my head. This is him in extreme pain in a hospital. This frontispiece comes from a detail of him in the hospital in extreme pain, and just that position of kind of curled up. That's the only way he gets a slightest bit of relief, and those are all the senses in his body, just all screaming in agony all at once. And that heart there at the center of it is a gorgeous image. It is so simple and and it's interesting to look at that with some of his more with his kind of the origins of some of this stuff, which is a little bit more is a little rougher, and you can see how he has through his work kind of pared things back. There is a certain kind of if there's something where I would say like the Buddhist, I see kind of a Buddhist influence in this stuff. It is just how pared back and simple and direct this is in the stuff, which goes a long way to conveying what is a very kind of personal and intimate story. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk about the trickiness and danger of this kind of book, where it is focusing on himself and it's an autobiographical book. So there isn't the voices of his partners, for example, in this book, which it's one of these tough things, because you can see that is sort of out of necessity, that the respect for the privacy of the people that he is with and is no longer with, that he can't he doesn't have their voices in the story. But that kind of also makes it seem a little hermetic, which, I mean, you're suffering an illness. It is hermetic. You are locked in your own, he is locked in his own private hell. Then I'm going to talk about Safe, the movie Safe, Todd Haynes' 1995 movie with Julianne Moore, where she's this suburban housewife who starts becoming ill, and goes into this kind of the self-help world. And her world, she either, depending on how you look at it, she either liberates herself from that world, but she ends up in a smaller and smaller and more enclosed and more controlled kind of environment. And that movie really leaves it open as to whether, there's just something terribly wrong with the world, or there's something psychologically wrong with her. And I think that the movie refuses to make a decision on that. Allows that it can be both. It can be both. There's the world can be terribly wrong, and that can really fuck up a person, that they can psychologically react in a certain way to it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the world isn't fucked in a lot of ways. The amount of chemicals and crap and things that we've gleefully pumped into our environments, and that we live and breathe in every day. And I think that why I come back to that in this book is, I don't think it's the author's intent to make to say, to maybe make that question of whether it's both. I think he's coming from what feels like a very sincere viewpoint of, this is how I got sick, and this is all the stuff that I've tried to do, and being honest about, I'm not holding myself up as someone who is super rational and super without problems. So, and the book does not push a solution at the end, and indeed I don't come away from the book. I mean, he's trying to make the best of his situation, but it leaves there's the book is continually going, he's going up and down and up and down. And, for the purposes of the book, maybe it's not to have complete despair. He's leaving it up, but there's nothing that makes me think that there's not going to be more downs and stuff like that, that the health isn't going to continue to be crapola. which is a really good gift. Is a kind of, it's a gift of like, okay, he's going to be kind to himself, he's going to be kind to the reader, but he's also not going to be like, he's not bullshitting the reader. So yeah, a really interesting book. It is, I think there is that limitation of it only being from his point of view, but I mean, it's an autobiographical book. I mean, I guess it's one of those things that you could have sections that were just strictly interviews with other voices in his life at the same time. But is that devaluing his voice? His voice is extremely important. So yeah. So this is all my pre-show stuff. So yes, the Hsptl St. John Porcellino, Porcellino, 2014 book, nonfiction account of the author's health troubles from 1997 to 2014 when this book was published. Falling ill, extreme stomach pain, abdominal surgery, recovered but only briefly, and the next years of like, just both physical and mental illness, environmental intolerances, obsessive compulsive tendencies, different rotating jobs and relationships and marriage ending. That the style is simple, but it's a deceptively simple, and is very pared back, and that kind of the idea of the kind of a Buddhist, very kind of like, I'm going to withdraw, I'm going to take away everything till you get the most kind of most iconic, most just conveying emotion, conveying idea with the least amount there. I mean, just each drawing, it's like just that cover there of the face of a face, and then the kind of the lump of the bed. It's just like, and the white of a, it's like, it's a fucking hospital, ain't it? That's a hospital right there, but summed up in the least amount, which some ways kind of opens up the possibilities for the most, that you can kind of see yourself in there, which I think is something, that's like, it's nothing that he could control. And as much as you want to distance yourself and say, oh, that could never happen to me, it's like, it could happen to anybody. Yeah, food, smell, sound, chemicals. Yeah, definitely go to that front piece. I'm going to that, having that front piece there to be able to show, and then just kind of randomly flipping through book pages of like, of words and text. That lovely combination of words and text, and how much information you can get through that, and how open it is. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of the absence of any other voice there, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, is just that's this form of thing, though there are other options open in that you could have done. The idea, the movie Safe being a fictional account, that seems to remind me of this non-fictional book, of our world being terribly wrong, but also being the psychological state of the individual, and that you could have a mentally ill individual, but you could still have a world that is terribly wrong in a lot of ways, that is maybe antithetical to the physical and mental health of human beings living in it. And yeah, and maybe trying to be less, a little, leaving it open for the end of what people are going to take away from this book on this. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. That's my pre-show. I'm going to go order some takeout and then come back and actually film the review. More videos in a second. I've been Jay.